Rhonda Matthews is a member of the Clemson's Food Safety Nutrition team, and she's based in Abbeville, and she works in Greenwood and all kinds of places near there. Who all do you work with, and what all do you do?
We work with, if you live in South Carolina, we work with you. We work with commercial folks who are in the restaurant and food service business to deal with food safety certification. We also work with consumers, anything having to do with good nutrition, food storage, food preservation, food preparation. All of that comes under our umbrella. So we stay busy, and that's the way we like it.
So tailgating issues, how to keep food safe at tailgating, or in a restaurant, or if somebody's having a buffet, what they need to do to make sure that the people who are eating there are going to be enjoy their food and enjoy the after effects of their food?
Yes, absolutely.
And then nutrition. So do you do some educational aspects of nutrition as well?
We do. We talk about basic nutrition and the foods that lead you to good basic nutrition and the preservation of good health. So it all comes under our umbrella, and we're out there every day doing it.
Well, in the grocery stores now and at our farmers markets, we're seeing these beautiful fruits, and a lot of people don't know quite what to do with them because we're kind of used to sweet potatoes.
I couldn't have said it better myself, and I get that very comment when I say the words winter squash to folks. Have you tried them? No, but I see them in the grocery store. Have you ever cooked them? No. Do they taste good? Yeah.
They do taste good.
So, and they absolutely, but they're in season right now, and the beauty of a winter squash is how long it can wait.
Yes.
So up to 4 months, some of the varieties.
Now these grow in the summer when our regular yellow and zucchini, but then they because of this thick skin, they can last a long time.
Absolutely. That rind is their suit of armor, and as long as its suit of armor has not been punctured and made it vulnerable in some way, it will sit there and wait for us up to 6 months to come and eat it.
Let's talk about the different ones that you have on display here. Let's start with this one.
Sure. This is probably the one that folks recognize most readily and is easiest found in our grocery stores. So this is a butternut squash. It's got that gigantic light bulb shape.
Yes.
And then this one is probably right behind it in terms of being recognized. It's an acorn squash, and if we look at that,
it looks a little bit like an acorn.
It looks like an acorn, exactly. And when you move right over across from the acorn squash, it looks very similar, but that one, the dark green one, is a buttercup squash.
A little flatter and more squished out.
Exactly. And then in the back, right there is our spaghetti squash. And folks that like spaghetti squash are die-hard devotees.
Are they?
They're really, and it's one of my favorites. I love it. And we'll take a look in just a few minutes at some of the things you can do with that spaghetti squash.
Now, what are some of the aspects of these vegetables that make them things that we should try and incorporate them into our diet?
Very high in vitamin A, very high in vitamin C, loaded with fiber. So that intense color that they have is the first giveaway that they're just giving you lots of good nutrition for your food dollar. Yes, they're powerhouse foods, exactly.
I'm going to say that the hardest thing about these is cutting them in half.
I would agree with you 100%. That suit of armor that it wears, that tough rind, does its job. So have a very sharp knife. And proceed with caution.
I have found that a deeply serrated knife, for me, is a good way to get into them. So people might want to try that tip.
Yes, whatever works for you. But understand that they're not. It's not like a summer squash that's very tender. That rind will stand up. It'll take a beating.
So if we wanted to prepare these, how do we begin? What are the steps?
If we look inside these, here's the inside of the butternut squash. This is probably the one where you get the most value for your food dollar, just because it's got more flesh. This, you can see, it's very few seeds and
smaller
strings.
Cavity.
Exactly. The acorn squash, we're pushing forward. A little bit more open cavity with the seeds. Spaghetti squash, same way. And then the butternut, just a little bit more. But inside, either almost always yellow to pale orange to the most intense orange.
So we're going to now remove the seeds, and we don't just throw the seeds away. They can be prepared.
Absolutely, and if folks are familiar with roasting pumpkin seeds, same thing
Use
right
the same
here.
Process.
You betcha. So it's a great crunchy snack. You can jazz it up with a little hot pepper and yum yum. So don't waste it.
I can tell she likes it.
Yeah.
Okay. So all right. So we've got it cut in half, And we've got it all scooped out.
That's right.
So what's the next step?
So there's a couple of ways that I would recommend that folks prepare these in terms of getting it to the table. One is simply to cut it open like this, scoop out the seeds face down in a baking sheet with just a little bit of oil, enough to keep it from sticking to the baking sheet.
Okay.
350, give or take 30 minutes, depending on the size of the squash, and it should be ready. The other option...
Should it be fork tender?
It should be fork tender,
for?
exactly.
Okay,
and you should be able, with the tip of a knife, you should be able to puncture the rind and get to the inside.
All right.
The spaghetti squash, my favorite way to prepare that one is open it up, or you don't even have to do that. Jab it a couple of times with the tines of a fork. Put the whole thing into the microwave. Give it 5 or 6 minutes, depending on how large the squash is, and it's ready. You just
so with the spaghetti squash, we don't scoop it out.
Either way, you can do that, but easiest to just give it a few pokes with the tines of a fork, and 5 minutes in the microwave, and you're ready.
Wonderful.
So let's take a look at what these look like once they're cooked. So we'll start out with that butternut squash and look at how incredibly dark orange.
Already.
Absolutely. And then if we look at our...
And, you know, when you flip that, the fragrance came to me.
They smell great, don't they? And so here is our acorn squash, and then our butternut is our last to go. And look at that incredibly deep orange.
Well,
I said butternut, didn't I? Buttercup.
Yeah, buttercup.
Yes.
That's right.
So,
we'll get it straight, y'all. Just hang with us.
So
now we could just eat them like that if we wanted to, because they're going to taste good. Put a little salt and pepper,
that's
or
right.
sugar, or cinnamon.
That's right. The flavors that do most beautifully with this food is those, what we think of as those autumn flavors: cinnamon, honey, nutmeg, those typical kind of autumn seasonings. Today we've got Granny Smith apple, a little pineapple, cranberries, there's another one, and some pecans. Seasoned it with just a little honey and a dab of butter. And if I was at home, here we go. We're just going to fill it up just like that. And I would put this right on the table, and look at all that goodness.
And they're so pretty.
That's absolutely
a very attractive presentation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and this this filling is very much like apple cobbler. So, what's wrong with that?
I think the transition from a sweet potato would be pretty well received, don't you?
It is. It's got that flavor profile. So, and that's what I like to tell folks. Don't think of it as only eating plain squash. Think of all the things we can do with a sweet potato or cooked pumpkin. This would translate over to that 1 for 1. So don't hesitate to take this and turn it into souffle, casserole, muffins, breads, any of that. It does beautifully.
Now, I actually have to admit I've never tried spaghetti squash because I just like pasta, which maybe is one reason that I have to keep my shirt untucked. So let's see how, because you said a lot of people just adore this.
They do. And if you're trying to shy away from noodles and pasta, this might be a great suggestion for you. And you can see that when I use the tines of my fork, it just shreds away.
Sure does.
And it is very much the texture of pasta. A lot of folks will heap this in the center of their plate.
Some down on the plate?
I'm
so
going to. You betcha.
Okay.
So they'll heap this in the center of their plate. Look at it just shredding away.
It really is.
And you can top this with a little butter, a little Parmesan, or if you like olive oil, go that way. Some folks will leave this in the shell and fill it with meat sauce, and then top it with shredded cheese and broil it under the broiler.
It like in a bowl.
In a bowl, that's right.
Gosh.
So, and gosh, it just keeps on giving us.
It really does. All the way down to that rind.
That's exactly right. So you can see you get a really nice substitute. It is not the same identical flavor as spaghetti, but if you're a vegetable lover, this may suit you just fine. I missed a seed. I can see them in there. But it just is still going.
That's what. If y'all have a lot of fact sheets, y'all not only are good about getting things done, I don't know how you manage to do it, but y'all seem to find the time to write things up as well. Do you have a sheet that tells people how to go about doing this?
We do, and if folks are interested in everything that we've talked about here tonight, they can check out that Home and Garden Information Center website, and there is a fact sheet there specifically for pumpkins, and they're fantastic cousins, the winter squash. And if you're interested in growing these at home, there's a fact sheet there for that as well. So go get it.
And actually, some of these have a little bit of resistance, this one in particular, to that awful squash vine borer. So another great reason for you to try another wonderful South Carolina vegetable, certified South Carolina grown, coming into our stores and markets right now.
Good food for the good people of South
Rhonda
Carolina.
Matthews, thank you, and for your wonderful contemporaries at this Clemson Food Safety and Nutrition team for what y'all are doing. And you know, it sounds like becoming a more nutritious eater can taste mighty good. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.